After finishing high school, many students in Israel attend a year at a mechina before going to the army. Mechina is a year-long program that prepares them for their army service ahead. Aryeh Eldad teaches in a mechina. His job is to deepen the students' appreciation for the Jewish people, for the land of Israel, and for their heritage as Jews. One of the places he always takes students to visit is the military cemetery at Har Herzl. They see there the graves that are arranged with the years of the major battles, the Yom Kippur War, the Six-Day War, and of course the War of Independence in 1948. One year, as the students were walking around the cemetery in the graves of the War of Independence of 1948, they noticed that one of the graves didn't have a name. Instead, it was inscribed with the simple word Almoni, which is Hebrew for anonymous or John Doe. The students turned to Aryeh and they asked, "Why is there no name on this grave?" Aryeh looked at them and he said, "Let me tell you the story of that soldier." In 1948, there were many Jews who came straight off the boats and were drafted immediately into the army. This soldier was a Holocaust survivor. He came all by himself to the docks in the land of Israel and was drafted immediately before they'd even had a time to take down his name and paperwork. Tragically, the very first battle that he fought in, he lost his life, and together with his entire platoon, him and 69 other soldiers were killed. At the end of the battle, when they recovered the bodies, they realized that they didn't even know this soldier's name. He hadn't arrived with any family whatsoever, and the only people that may have known who he was, his fellow soldiers, had all been killed. Tragically, they had to bury him with just the date and the name of the battle that he'd fallen and the word Almoni, anonymous. The students looked at Aryeh and they said, "But who says Kaddish on the yahrzeit? Who lights a candle for him? Who gives charity in his memory?" And Aryeh shrugged his shoulders. He said, "We come to visit, but that's about it. There is no family." They continued walking around the cemetery and they didn't think much more of it. About a year later, Aryeh got a phone call from a former student of his. He introduced himself and he said that he was on that tour of the Herzl cemetery the previous year. He said, "Aryeh, do you remember that soldier, Almoni, the anonymous one?" Aryeh said, "Of course, I remember him. I take students there every year." He said, "Aryeh, we found his family." Aryeh said, "What do you mean you found his family? 70 years later, how?" He said, "Aryeh, tomorrow is the yahrzeit. Come and join the family at the grave tomorrow afternoon." So of course, the next afternoon, Aryeh went, intrigued, to meet this soldier's family. He arrives at the grave and he sees, standing around the grave, is the entire class of students that he'd taken there the previous year, saying Kaddish. They look up at him and they say, "Aryeh, we are his family." Jerusalem is the city that unites the entire Jewish people. And perhaps this year, when we have lost temporarily the privilege of being able to visit Israel, to being able to go to the Kotel, to go to Jerusalem, it's an opportunity for us to reflect upon the sacrifice that so many people made. And we can use this Yom Yerushalayim to appreciate the gift of Jerusalem that we have in our generation.